I think we've all seen the shift even in the last couple of years because of the pandemic to more remote working, hybrid working. We obviously had 2 years where people just didn't come into the office at all, and we had to find a way, and as humans we innovated and we started using some of the tools that were available to us. But this shift away from everyone being co-located, like when I started in engineering, we had everybody in the office with a CAD station and a drawing board, and the collaboration was done over the drawing board with a A0 sheet of paper and a coffee. Where now that shift is towards online meetings, design reviews, very infrequent face-to-face. The ability to work remotely and have many touch points with people throughout the day through our tools and other tools, business communication tools, needs to be balanced, I think, with the well-being of the person and the work-life balance. Absolutely. I think if we look at the number of startups that we are seeing, have grown from very small to huge, even in the last 12 months. I think we've seen where people were in lockdown, sat there thinking, how can I change the world? You know, being quite blunt about it, they were probably in a role that was a little bit boring, and the pandemic has given that impetus to actually think about what they want to do with the rest of their life. And you know, I think that's just part of human nature. These things come along, and as bad as it's been, there have been a lot of positives in terms of pushing that innovation forwards. We've seen a lot of startups in those areas, transport, mobility, aerospace, because what we see is the SMEs and startups have the benefit that they don't have the legacy processes. They can almost reinvent from scratch what they want to do. We obviously advise on that and on industry best practice, but the OEMs have the challenge that they've got very regimented processes, they've got people in certain roles who do certain things, and that agility is sometimes missing from the OEM. Of course, the OEMs have the benefit of having more resources and more capabilities to call upon. I think we've got to encourage both sides of the smaller and the larger customers to look at business processes, look how they can innovate, look how they can use latest technology, whether it's the 3D Experience platform, using the cloud to collaborate, or other tools. It's not easy, but I'm sure that the people I deal with need to change, and they want to change. As we've touched on before, somebody will come along and bite your ankles. We've seen lots of industries, certainly in IT, we mentioned about Uber, Netflix, Blockbuster disappeared. They just sat back and waited for things to happen. People have got to get more efficient. They've got to reduce the time they take to get things to the market. They need to be able to spread the word about what the products do out faster and wider, and just be more agile. And if they don't, then they probably won't be here in 10 years. Traditionally, when we've sold software solutions, whether it's SolidWorks or any of our other portfolio, we've offered the solution and some training. The challenge really for today's business is, how does this actually fit into what we do? Rather than a point solution that creates parts, assemblies and drawings, how does that actually impact and make a positive impact on our business? So that's the challenge really, is what does the solution look like? Whether if you're making products, the product development solution from initial ideas all the way through to manufacturing, how does that fit together? How do all the stakeholders along the path get access to the right information and be able to make the right decisions? So it's much more around looking holistically at the end-to-end process and how we can help with our best practice and experience, rather than a point solution of this is how you press this button to do that function.